Alright guys, I hear a few of the boys in the Masters are starting to get into smoking meat and stuff. So I thought I'd just do a quick video on how to trim a brisket. So when I was going past the butchers, saw this is basically what they've done is, he told me they'd cut this is the point end, the flat that would come out past here, he'd cut off to roll into a rolled brisket. So, you know, if you're ordering this in, you know, Texas or somewhere, this would be called the fatty part, or fatty, and the flat end is called lean. So when I'm trimming it, what I'm basically looking to do is get rid of anything that's more than about 10 millimeters thick, because if it's basically, it won't render down. So all this section here will get trimmed off. If you see here, you know, there's a big section here, I'll trim back in here. That bit of intermuscular fat between the deco, I'll leave that. I'll be removing all the silver skin. There's not much on this one, which is really good. All that'll come out. That'll come off just to trim it up. Because basically, on this one, I'm going to cook it tomorrow, which I'll video. But you're looking, I'll just use what's called a Dalmatian rub, which is 50-50 pepper and salt, pretty much. And I'll probably put a little bit of mustard as a binding agent before I season it. But I won't do that tonight. I'll do that tomorrow, because it'll get the salt it'll get a bit too salty. Yeah, so your rub won't stick to the fat. Basically, as the fat renders off, the rub will just disappear and it'll make it into the meat. As you can see, this is it's a black onyx, which is Angus, but you can see it came from like a decent cow, because you can see the marbling on the cross section, up on the surface here. Like everywhere you look, there's good marbling in it, so that'll render down and be really juicy and really nice. So anyway, we'll start trimming. I might speed this up if it gets a bit boring. So, but one of the things, like when you first start, you get a little bit, I don't know, I was a bit nervous when I first started trimming a brisket, because I just was, but the more times you do it, the easier it gets. So you can see here, once I've cut that fat off, we're into some really nice, you know, marble meat there, and that's what you want. It really is worth spending a little bit extra on the, like getting a black onyx or something that's a little bit decent. Like even though it's a cheap cut of meat, and whatever you get will render down nicely, trust me, it's worth it. And like this, I think it was like $19.90 a kilo, and the cheapest you're going to get it's probably like $16 a kilo. So, you know, if you're doing a 4 kilo brisket, you're only saving $12, right? Now I'm looking at, I might leave that on because that might end up being like a burnt end and might be a bit tasty for the barbecuer. Maybe to try it a bit early. So I'll just trim that off and leave it. I'm going to leave it on. I was going to trim it off, but so here that's a little bit, fat's a little bit, you know, yucky. So we'll try and get a bit of that off. And just stuff like this, like that. See how that's like flopping around the breeze? That'll just burn. It won't, and it won't be nice. So just cut that back. Dogs will like that. If you get dogs, they love that. Yeah, like if you can see here, this bit here, it's a little bit thick and yucky, so I'm just going to get in there and get that out, because won't be very, I guess the technical term is palatable, but that's just not going to be, it's not going to be nice, basically. So square that up. Alright, like I said, I'm going to leave that because that'll render down nicely and that'll give it a good bit of flavour, I think. So this is the bit here we really need to get a little bit vicious on, so we'll get in there, get that out. You can see that's just pure fat. I'm not going to like eating that. Not even me. I like my fatty stuff and I don't even like eating that. So just trim that out. You can see here we're getting down to meat. So we'll just scoop that out there. Sort of bring it back to this line. Alright. You can see that's trimming off very nicely. And you can be a bit rough with it, you're not, doesn't need to be super super neat. And you can see here there's a little bit of silver skin, so I'll trim that off while I'm here. Just keep going down like that. This bit here. And I'll just square that off. So these bits here, that's a big, and when you feel it, like you can feel it's hard, it's not going to be nice at all. Just get in there with your Mercer. Same thing, like you look at that, that's not something you want to eat. So that bit of fat's going to go in a fair way, so I'm just going to trim it back. Till we get to, like here I just want to try and expose a bit of the muscle to get a bit of rub in there. But that bit of fat might go a little bit further than what I expected. So just trim that off. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with that. You can sort of see there now we've pulled that back to like that's what you're looking for. Not that. So we'll get back into here a bit more. Get rid of that. Because that ain't going to do, it's not going to add to the flavour, and we're not going to eat it, and it's just going to, be no good. I'll probably, try and get a bit more of that out, just hollow it out, but you just want to try and keep it the same size so that when the smoke's going over it, there's no pockets and things like that. Usually these have a lot of silver skin on it. This one's virtually got none, and that's probably one of the most annoying things to do is to get rid of the silver skin. So again, I'll get into here and when you, I know you can't feel it on the video, but when you feel this fat, you can just feel that it's hard and not nice. So now we're getting into back into the muscle there. That's that fat line that's coming through. That was one muscle over here, and this big muscle under here would have come through and made the flat. So here, getting pretty close. We'll just get rid of that. So I know we're getting into the meat here, so I'll pull up a bit early on that. Just cut that back. And to be honest, I'm probably going to leave that because that'll be really, this part here will be really tasty. Now we just start neatening it up and tidy it up really, along this line here. If you look at that, that's, if you look at any of the Kobe beef videos, that's what you're looking for. So that's, I'm going to leave that. Alright, so on this side, just like that, just have a feel of it, if it seems a bit tough and there's any membrane, so you're just looking for the membrane, you want to get rid of that. So that's probably as far as I'm going to trim it, I think. So that'll look, this bit here is it's a bit hanging in the breeze, but like I said, that'll cook up early and that'll be a taster halfway through the cook. So that's pretty much it. That's probably not the expert way to trim a brisket, but that's how I trim a brisket anyway. So you can see here, like that, if I keep cutting, I'm just going to keep going through and get into there and hollow it out, so it'll just make a hole in there where it won't be good. I'm not sure if it shows up on the camera, but there's a little bit of browning there just from because it was cryovac. I'll just trim that off. You don't have to, it's just more aesthetics. Yeah, look, you can, if you sit here, you'll spend hours just trimming, just going, oh, there's a little bit of fat, I'll get that off, but like, so from where we started to where we are now, so that side's pretty good. But I can just see here now there is still some silver skin. If we can, I don't want the camera pick that up, so I'm going to get rid of that because silver skin will not let any of your rub get through to the. So you just, and like I said, getting rid of silver skin is probably the most annoying part about trimming any meat, whether you're doing like short ribs, whatever, but it's well worth the time because if you get rid of it, whatever rub you decide to put on actually gets into the meat. So that's looking pretty good, I think. Yeah, that bit there looks a bit nasty to me, so I'm going to get rid of that. Now that's not going to render, but it is what it is. I don't want to keep hacking to there because I'll create a hole and then that'll drop down and yeah, it won't be, what I'll probably do is just square that up or make that a bit smoother. So it's a little bit, I know it sounds funny, but it's like aerodynamics for the smoke. So when the smoke comes over the meat, there's no pockets, it just does it smoothly. Yeah, so that's how much fat and stuff came out of it, and this is the finished product. So yeah, all I'd say for you masters boys when you get into it, just have a crack, like yeah, just start trying to trim like stuff like this. You can get in there and get rid of that as well. That's not so bad because it's small and it will, trust me, it'll render down. Right. Yeah, so finished product. That's just this looks and feels bad, but because it's so thin, it'll actually render down really nicely. So, yeah. All right. Cheers, boys.